We're live, Tom. We live?
Yep, I think so.
Okay, let's go and start the meeting with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, everyone. The agenda, I'm going to propose 3 additions to it. One being Warren Taylor, the other one being Steve Howell with some transfers and appropriations, and the third being the makeup for the ARP committee. Other than that, anybody got any other additions? Randy or Randy?
And where are you putting them in at?
Under 2.
Okay.
Yeah, A, B, C. We'll go ahead and get that done.
I'll make a motion, approve it.
Okay?
Second.
Motion made and second, carried 3-0, approve the agenda. So Warren Taylor, you're up.
Oh.
Yep. You want to explain the whole thing? I know that there's some here that.
Okay, this is in reference to the coroner's records that the Historical Society of Tell City had. And we talked earlier about it. And this is an agreement that Mr. Goffman and I talked about, and he felt this will maybe take care of the situation. I talked to Mark Ress and explained to him what was in it, and he didn't have any problems with it, and he said for me to bring it to their meeting next Monday night at 4:05 to explain it to their committee at the Historical Society. But it's basically going to give the Historical Society control of some of our old records, but there's some guidelines that they have to fulfill, like if somebody wants to see the records, they're going to have them make them available at a reasonable time to see the records. And like I say, it's old records. I'm going to hang on to stuff that possibly were the state police or any other law enforcement agency wants to see the records. I'm going to keep those at my office yet. These are, a lot of them are from 1863 up to, I'm thinking around 1930 or 1935. I don't think anybody, as far as law enforcement goes, will ever want to see those records. I checked on, at a previous meeting we talked about maybe getting them photostat copied or put them on microfiche, and I talked to some other counties. Nobody's done that. Most of the small counties, they can't even tell me where their records are even at. So I think a lot of it goes back years ago that the coroner, whoever was in office, kept the records. When they went out of the office, they kept the records. So I guess we're lucky in one sense, in a way, that we have got a lot of old records.
So Warren, did you give him a copy of this?
No, I just explained it to him because Chris just got it changed over today, because we added one stipulation to it at the bottom about at this time or no time in the future that the Historical Society can come back and say we owe them for maintaining maintenance or repair on their records.
Chris, in the event the historical, it's unlikely, it's in the event the Historical Society would dissolve, is there a return of records to the county? If I mean, how is that handled in the event that would happen?
Yeah, those are still the county records, and they're kind of on loan, if you will, to them. So
Correct.
If they dissolve and go away, we would go back in and seize the records back and figure out at that time what to do with them.
Right.
Whether give them to a successor organization or keep them somewhere here in the courthouse.
Whether you want to address that or not in an agreement like this, I don't know.
Yeah, I could add a sentence at the end that says, in the event of the dissolution of the corporation. Yeah, I'll just add that, Randy, to the end of it. So we'll just add in a paragraph 6 that says, in the event of the dissolution of the Historical Society, the records will be returned to the county coroner.
Then it'll be up to county coroner to decide what to do with
Time,
them.
whoever it is.
And it might be 10 years now, 20 years, you don't know.
Yeah, well, hopefully never.
Hopefully not.
But we're lucky that they took the records and preserved them.
That's
They
true.
really are, because they'd be gone.
I think
Yeah,
they-
because a lot of the stuff was thrown away.
Yeah, so,
Mhm. Well, it sounds like you've come up with the best solution. I know you've been working back and forth, but
Yeah, it's,
in respect for all involved.
and I told Mark, as soon as I get everything finished, I'll bring them down to him, so, and I'm gonna explain that to him Monday night also, which I've already told him that it takes a while. You know, it's not like that I'm out there 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. I'm out there 2 or 3 hours every day. And some days I get time to work on them, some days I don't, so it's time consuming,
You're manually entering all the information into the computers, yeah.
yes.
So do we want to wait for another agreement, or do we want to go ahead and?
If you want to approve it as changed, the change is going to be a new section 6. It says, in the event of dissolution of the Historical Society, the records will be returned to the coroner.
I'm
So-
fine with that, and I mean, it's once, I see one signature, so I'm assuming Tom's signing it, correct?
Yeah, if you guys approve it, we'll just have Tom
Yeah,
sign it.
so then
I'll
I'm
fix it.
good with that. I'll make the motion with the changes.
Okay.
Okay.
And then Tom can sign it when it's drafted, and if the Historical Society's comfortable with it.
Okay, 'cause I'm gonna take it to them next Monday night.
Mhm.
Was that a motion, Randy?
That was a motion,
Okay.
awkwardly, but it was a motion.
I'll second that motion then.
Okay, motion made and second, also vote aye, carried 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay,
Warren.
you're just going to get
Warren,
a clean copy.
I'll
then?
email you a clean copy
Okay.
after I get Tom to sign it.
Okay, that'd be great,
Yeah.
thank you.
All right. Next on the agenda is Steve Howe, the Highway Department.
I have 2 additional appropriations and a transfer. One additional appropriation is on getting the bridges off the annual inspection. We talked about last time, he had made a mistake on his estimate on that, so I need to change the 12,300 to 14,500. That's the only difference on that one. There was 45,000 on there for the bridge decking, and then the other bridge, 12,300 on the bridge number 164. Then I have an appropriation for stone culverts and gas, 50,000 in stone, 50,000 in culverts, and 60,000 into gas. This is money we used last month to get our community crossing match in place. Before when we get the estimate, and then they get the actual bid, they've always been at least 75,000 less than the bid. We've been awarded $1 million, but if it's been 75 to 145,000 less than what the estimate was that we have to send in, so we don't get the full $1 million. But this year, with the price increase, it's the actual bid was almost as much as the estimate was, so we're having to put a little extra money in. We usually put in 333,000. This year, we're gonna have to put 465,000, but we're gonna get almost $2 million worth of paving done this year, which ain't a whole lot anymore.
Almost half what it was a couple years ago.
And the transfer is that that's for $3,600 from temporary seasonal to safety training for CDL training. Our guy that we had that was seasonal temporary, he found a job paid $4 or $5 more an hour, so he quit a couple weeks ago.
So Steve, once you transfer this money, how's your budget gonna be for the rest of the year?
We're gonna be okay.
Okay.
Actually, this year, of course, we just estimate from what we got last year when we do our budget, but we're getting a little more money in this year. We had been down 2 or 3 years in a row because of COVID quite a bit there, a couple of years, but it's slowly coming back now. We're getting, we estimated off last year and we're getting more in. So
It's coming off the gas tax.
Yes.
Mhm.
That's all I have.
Okay. Any other questions?
I don't have any. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and second, vote aye, carried 3-0.
Thank you.
Mhm. All right, next thing on the agenda is the makeup of the The ARP committee, last time, I just want to clarify how many people we are wanting on that. The discussion we had with, or I did with the council last week was that they'd like to maintain 7. So that's first thing that we need to clarify, that we support 7 or entertain a motion from one of you two otherwise.
Okay, how many do we have on there right now, Tom? Since we had Tara step down.
Actual people, you mean?
Yeah,
Right, I think 4 now, right?
3, there's 3 left.
3 left.
3 left,
You,
yes.
me, and Charlie.
And Keith.
And Keith was appointed,
And Keith, now there's 4, that's right.
Right.
Thank you.
4.
That's 4.
right,
Okay,
right.
I got a question. When I said last meeting, if we would move it down to 5, and I still believe 5 is a good number, because when you put too many people on any kind of committee, I think it slows the work down. Because anytime you got like a board that's a 7-member board, there's usually 3 people on a committee. That's where the work gets done in a lot of these organizations. I think if Randy wants to come back on, would you guys be satisfied with a 5-member board with Randy back on there? And the reason I'm doing this, I want this money out here for these people. They need to be out there, and I said that in the meeting, I wanted to have that toward the end of the year. They've waited too long, these small businesses. It needs to be out there. So if we go after more people, that means we gotta give a 6 weeks notice before we can put anybody on.
Why can't you
So that's
select
gonna
from
hold
the
up the
previous
process.
application? Why can't you select from the previous applicants?
We
Could,
can,
but we probably, anytime we do that, we, out of courtesy of the public, we let a 6 weeks notice.
If 4 people show up, you've got a quorum. So you can still have meetings
Yeah.
until the other people get put on.
Or we can advertise for new members. You guys go ahead with the 5-member board, do what you need to do. You guys might be done by 6 weeks with it.
but we
But the
can,
first round,
The first round,
Yeah,
yes.
that's the round I'm
There's a
talking
lot
about.
more
That's the one that needs to get out there. The infrastructure and all that will come later. You know, but the first round where the money's going to the people that need it.
The attorneys.
Randy,
Because people are fairly sick.
well, who will consist of this board? 2 commissioners, 2?
Yeah, 2 commissioners.
2 council and Sherry for now until we appoint 2 more people.
And I'm fine if we want to appoint people. I'm just trying to get this moving and get it going. If you guys think you can handle it with 5 members, get it done for the county and move on.
Oh, but Randy, I thought that's what the council said last time, that they wanted to just move on right now, appoint 2
But I'm-
extras, but not hold and wait.
I know, yeah, but I'm saying, should we go ahead and try to advertise for people to be put on there to come halfway into it? It's gonna be like educating 2 people from what you did from there to now.
It cannot look any more halfway than what it already looks. Okay, and that is me speaking from a whole lot of people, Randy.
What's that?
People are very upset, because there's always a hustle, there's always word hustle. Whatever has to be done, Mr. Cole was on the board, and now we're having another meeting to put him back on the board.
No,
Mr.
There
Cole,
are
hey, back up.
roadblocks.
back
Mr.
up.
Cole, when he came off the council, he wasn't put on by the commissioners. If he would've come and asked the day he came in as commissioner, can I be on the ARP? 99% of chance, I know I probably would've said yeah, because I said at the council meeting, I did not want to be on that committee.
I know you did, and I don't blame you.
And,
Just for that multiple times.
I don't.
So
and I'm
wait,
willing, if Randy wants to be on there, I'll make a motion right now to put him on there, to get this going. But I'm trying to, one commissioner has no power in this county. 0. So if I want to go and sit on the planning commission, I have to come to the commissioners, ask to be appointed. See what I mean? So if Randy says he would like to be on there, which I think he does, I'll make a motion.
and we can,
Okay.
we can operate and Randy, I see what you're saying. that if we wait 6 weeks to start up, then that slows things down. But like you said, if we can operate with 5,
But,
wait with 5 and then bring the other 2
and I'm fine with
in.
that, I'm just trying to
later.
keep the committee as lean to get the job done.
If you have 7 members and only 5 actual people appointed, you still have to have them 4 votes, which I assume is not a problem, but you still have to have a 4-vote majority to take action.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
But I think we should
Which,
be able
like
to
I
do
said, I
that.
assume that's not a problem.
We should be
but-
able to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
If we don't, then, I mean, we'll just make a meeting at the point when, yes, Sherry?
I just want to clarify that we were never waiting on people to be appointed to move the money along. What we were waiting for was Baker Tilly. Now that we have them completely on board, we can have them look through those that we have chosen
Yeah.
by the committee to make sure that we're not violating anything with the law by awarding those before we actually give the money out.
Right.
So that was the only thing we were waiting was Baker Tilly.
So Randy,
Yeah, you explained that very well last council meeting.
right,
Yes.
so Randy, you want to make a motion then that we maintain the 7 board member and we go ahead and operate with 5 until we have the time to put 2 more on?
Yeah,
Does
and
does that sound like the best thing to do?
I can go with that. If the committee feels like they need the 7-member board,
Committee, yeah.
that, my opinion, I say they don't, but I'll make a motion to put Randy Cole on the committee and then ask for 2 more appointments and give the 6 weeks notice tonight.
Right, and the 2 are 1 from the commissioners and 1 joint.
1 joint with the
Is
council.
what we have,
Okay.
what we have.
The joint is the ARP committee appointments. That's how we did it last time.
Okay,
The
yeah,
ARP committee appointed.
Yes,
Okay, I
but-
thought it was the council and the commissioners. Okay.
It's, in the very first meeting, if you watch the video, you'll see that the ARP appointed, the 6 members.
right,
appointed.
so we have a motion on the on,
Got one more comment.
And this will be a 6-week deadline to find 2
So,
more members.
Today, it would be the middle of September meeting
Okay.
mhm.
when we'll choose the name.
So,
And would you review the previous?
Yeah.
applicants?
I
Yeah,
assume Randy
and
will
that-
accept it, by the way.
Yes, we'll review those, I would think we would.
Yeah.
That's-
Mhm.
You know, I'm just saying that, now we got 2 other commissioners here. Then we'll ask for anybody else. If there's nobody else comes in, we'll see what we got and we'll ask them.
That would be an easy route.
So I second
I hope
Randy's.
you understand where I'm coming from with the 5-member. I want to see this, because I'm the type of person that I want to see things done, and that's what I struggle with being a commissioner, because county government is very slow.
Very slow, especially when dealing with
So,
state.
when you're in a private business, you get stuff done.
Okay, so
So-
Randy's
I make the motion.
motion to maintain 7 and to appoint Randy Cole.
Right.
Okay, I'll second that with the, if Randy will accept that.
Sure.
Okay, so I second the motion to, I guess that's proper to do. So, to make it official, we'll vote. I'll vote yea. Aye. Randy?
I'm going to vote aye also.
Okay, all right, so that's what we're gonna do. So from this point, anybody interested, please
Paper,
submit your
put that in
name.
the paper.
Yes.
Now, one of the reasons I think you need to stay at 7, because the council expressly wanted 7. And if you try to cut it back to 5, then you're going to have to go back to the council and say, hey, now we want to take it back to 5, and then we're bouncing back and forth.
Right.
One critical thing that's going on, just from what I've picked up so far from Baker Tilly, I'm concerned about some of the applicants we've already approved and the legal issues as far as providing them.
Right, and I had discussion with Baker Tilly Friday, Pam and I did, and I was gonna bring that up in section 4.
When we do that, I feel we need to get it in writing, and then everyone involved in the committee has an opportunity to read it and review it, because verbal, it can be misinterpreted. If I call them up and I think I hear something that they didn't actually say, I'd rather reduce it to an email or a letter or something, so it says, you specifically cannot do this, or you can do this, or whatever, and then share it with the group, so somebody doesn't go out and misinform someone that has applied, leading them to believe that funds available, when in reality, we legally can't give them.
Right, but the 11 has already been notified in a public meeting.
Yeah, I understand.
So we're not giving any false hope to anybody,
Right.
because that was given in April.
Yeah, we just don't want to lead anybody to believe if there is something in there that is restricted that we can't do.
Right.
And we don't want to put the county in a position where they have to come up with the money in the event we misappropriate it.
That's true. Okay.
Tom, can I make a comment?
Yes, ma'am?
Just, I would, hoping that, since the city of Tell City has contracted with Baker Tilly as well, that we could make a commitment or an agreement with them that any opinion they get from them, if they could forward to us, and we could do the same for them. That could save us money in the long run from asking the same questions of both organizations paying money.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Makes sense.
Pam, would you care to communicate that to Dan? Or contact with Dan?
No. What we need to do is when Kelly, for instance, asks specifically about giving money to a church organization,
Mhm.
if she's asked the question, we don't need to ask it a second time and get a bill.
Nope.
Yeah,
No.
Chris
Well,
got
we
the
won't
idea.
know that unless she
Yeah.
forwards us.
Yeah, she needs to share with
That's what I say, that's what I want Pam to,
But we don't need to involve Baker Tilly in that discussion. That's one between county, city. So when we ask questions, we just share the information we
Oh,
get
okay.
between the two of them. That way, either one of us gets billed for it, the other one gets the knowledge.
Okay, we can
So we
sh-
don't continue to ask the same question to Baker Tilly
Okay.
between both groups.
right,
So,
okay. All right. Next on the agenda, Pam?
We'll go back to page 1. Okay, what I have first is the payroll that was distributed today to all county employees. For $103,059.99.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second that motion.
Motion made and second, also vote aye, carried 3-0.
Okay, next I have the benefit claims from our county insurances that have been paid out for $144,981.44.
Make a motion to approve.
Second that motion.
Also vote aye, motion made and second, carried 3-0.
Okay, and the last I have are claims, which are county general and highway. County general was $284,952.69. Highway was $91,337.27, for a total of both of them of $376,289.96.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and second, also vote aye, carried 3-0.
That is all I have.
Next thing on the agenda is the transfer request for the Perry County Substance Abuse Committee. Pam, would you
Yes.
elaborate on that?
This is a transfer, take this before I give it to you. This aligns the appropriated amounts that you guys did previously for their buckets that they have, which is administrative, preventive and education, treatment and intervention, and law enforcement justice. You guys have appropriated the amounts that came down from the state earlier at a previous meeting. Now they are wanting to transfer money between the different buckets as far as the grants that they're wanting to pay out and to award. It's not an additional funding request, it's just moving the money around so they can do the proper grant give out for what they need in the certain buckets.
So Pam, is there 3 grants involved with this?
Yes.
3 separate?
Is there just,
Yes.
yeah, 3 categories, is it just 3 grants with the
Yes.
category, 1 grant for each category? Okay.
Okay, then do we create any issues when a grant is specific to a certain use, when we transfer it to another one and it's used outside of that grant's parameters?
I would think that the Substance Abuse Committee, as far as if they're awarding these grants, that they know, as far as what the grant amount is, if they're asking for a transfer to move it around, considering generally the money, when it was appropriated, was pretty well equal for each one. So,
Yeah, I know, but a lot of times these grants target specific uses.
yeah, and I don't have any,
Yeah.
I don't see any of that. That's strictly off of the Substance Abuse Committee.
Yeah.
I don't see any of that.
And then, you know, it would be another thing that you're transferring it into another usage. And that could be a problem with how the grant was actually written. I don't know, I'm just speculating, because I've read some of them and they're they're very targeted, so that
Mhm.
you don't go outside of that grant usage, because then people have a tendency to, get a little more inventive with how and where and why it goes, so that we don't get ourselves in a situation where we're misusing appropriated funds through a grant. That would be my only concern. I think they're using it for good uses. It's just so we don't cause ourselves an issue.
Is this matching money, or is it
No.
the money itself?
No, it's money that they collect off of fees, isn't it? Drug fees, there's
Yes.
stuff that's collected in the clerk's office. Never have I known that the substance abuse, I mean, as far as I know, every time they issued it out to what they needed.
So it is actually fees collected on the local level, not a grant.
I don't actually know that answer.
I don't know the answer to that.
I just know
I
that,
think it's fees that are collected, but the substance abuse issues grants out.
I know that part of fines and part of the court fees that are paid by criminal defendants are some of
Included in
this,
this.
but I don't know if it's 100% that or if there is some grant money in
Yeah.
there. I don't
And
know.
whether there's any, I don't know whether, obviously, the county probably set up an ordinance or something on how this fund was collected and distributed, I'm assuming.
It should be, I mean, but I'd have to look back and
So
see it on, yes.
that's what, and
Yeah, and this is all that's collected with the clerk's office and how then that money is given as far as from what the state, and then they issue it back down telling us what goes into each bucket, which I have to take just what's there,
Who brings this to you?
as far as,
Who brings the transfer request to you?
the substance abuse committee, which I'm not sure it doesn't have on there. They're the ones that sent it to the administrator.
I think Connie set that up.
I was gonna say, I know Connie's on the board, and she I think actually is the administrator of it. She's the administrative position.
She set all this up when she was.
Yes.
Yeah, and I actually think she's the administrative position that's paid,
Yeah.
yeah, as far as the substance abuse.
I mean, I don't have a problem with it pending, if Chris looks at it or something to
I'll-
determine, to make sure that.
I'll check on that.
We're,
I wish I could answer more of it, but I don't
understand.
deal with that part of it, so.
I'll check on Randy to make sure there's no grant restrictions on the use of these funds
Or anything
or
that-
state statute or whatever.
that restricts the transfer of them for
Yeah.
other uses.
So if you want to approve it subject to that,
Chris,
or you can
there
vote
are
on-
restrictions. There are restrictions, but you can't ask just for anything. It has to meet
Well, that's,
that.
yeah. The
Okay.
point is are they properly
Right.
honoring those restrictions to make
Right.
sure they're not spending on something they shouldn't be?
Or
So you can-
transferring that restricts them from transferring for one use, whether it's drug abuse versus child abuse or something to that, where they're specific to that and the funds have to be used in that category.
Right.
Um,
So you can table to the next meeting, or you can approve subject to me checking on it, whichever works best for you guys, I'm fine with.
I would almost wish they would do that sooner. I would almost wish, because we did approve the the three different sections of the grants. And we have, just like we asked for computers, and it matches what we asked for out of the Perry County Substance Abuse Committee. So we were asking that, that's why I came to you guys, if you would approve it, that way the checks could be written. So if you want to wait, I understand. I just need to tell them that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
You want to wait then, Randy, for that opinion?
Well, when you tell me it's a substance abuse grant, you're buying computers for the sheriff's department out of it, I'm not sure that's in the same bucket.
Well, the reason is, like we asked for, we do all of our reports on those computers for if we arrest somebody for OWI or possession of whatever. That's why we use those. That's why we got approved of that in the past.
I prefer to table it now. If you'd look into it, Chris, and then if it's okay, then we'll just pass it then, if that's not a big deal.
I'll get you an answer.
So you want
Yeah,
to second
okay.
to?
I mean, I'm good either way. If you want to go ahead and prove it and let Chris look at it and throttle back. When's our next meeting? Middle of August?
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, it's
So
not
do we
going to
have
hurt
two
anybody to
motions?
wait.
Okay, that's
Not
just
yet.
that.
Okay,
Randy made a motion to table.
okay.
Right, Randy?
Yep.
Cole, Randy Cole.
I'll second that motion. We'll get it done by middle of August.
Just make sure we can do what we're attempting to do and stay within the guidelines.
Motion made and second.
Can you give me that
And I'll
one
vote
back?
aye. Carries
Yes.
3-0. Okay. The next thing on the agenda is additional appropriation for the ARP grant awards. Pam and I had a phone call with Dan Hedden, with Baker Tilly. He's going to be our representative, asking what is the proper way to go about distributing the funds and the legal route. And since the ARP committee has committed or agreed upon 1.2 million of the first phase being distributed out in grants, then what the commissioners need to do is ask for additional appropriation to the council for the $1.2 million in grants. And then once they approve that, then it can be paid out in claims for the individual grants. Then claims can be submitted by the ARP committee. And then those claims will have to be, by law, have to be approved by the commissioner with the regular grant. This gives the opportunity, once all the ducks are in a row and the committee is comfortable with the grant awards, then the money can be distributed out after the next commissioners meeting. Like I said, this amount is what the committee has agreed upon for grants. Now, if all of that $1.2 million is not granted, then some of that there can be a reduction from that and put into another bucket. But this sets it up that we can actually start giving this money out without waiting another 2 weeks or waiting another month. The month turns into 2 months with the council. That this gives us a way to, once the committee decides that they want to give a grant out, then we can give it out. Does that make sense?
And it doesn't have to be all give out at once. It could be multiple.
Yes, it's a claim. It's just like if we put $200,000 in building maintenance and they need a bill to shampoo the carpets for $400. That $400 is a claim. This is a claim against the already appropriated funds.
And what I would rather approach it, first of all, I want to ask the entire committee before I do anything. But the way I would like to approach it is we have 11, right now we've got approval, confirm that what we did was appropriate and we can give them the money for what they're representing, they're doing for that, and then move that through the system. And if we need to speed it up and have a special meeting in 48 hours, we can do to move the process along if necessary. But I want to make sure so that you're not approving 1.2 million, and with some of the restrictions I've seen now, we may struggle to find enough people that fall into that category to actually distribute that much funds to.
Right, but we can adjust that later, Randy. What I'm trying to do is put this money in a place that this ARP committee can distribute it out.
Well, but what I want to do
It was
is
not waiting for another month for another council meeting. And we could have special meetings, or we can, the amount of $1.2 million, we have decided as a committee, ARP committee, that we want to give out $1.2 million in grants. And we need to move that money till we can do that.
But see, it's small business, nonprofit, and mental health is what was allocated. And we thought we would have enough recipients, and now with some of the new restrictions.
We don't, yeah, but we don't know that yet, but we still decided we wanted to put $1.2 million in grants. And we don't have to split that in those buckets. Within the committee, so we can move it, we can move that 1.2 million if the committee chooses.
So are you envisioning that if you approve that 1.2 and the council approved 1.2, then the actual ARP committee can say, we're going to give this guy $50,000, and you're not going to come back in and look at what we're doing? You're going to say okay and go on?
The claim will be made to the commissioners, and the commissioners would have to approve that claim. That's by law.
But it doesn't have to go back for further appropriation to the council. All you're saving, I think, is the council step on the appropriation.
If the, but they.
I wasn't in the call, but I think that's what you're talking about.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
So
It's actually it's actually moving more of the action straight to the committee.
So, yeah, but, okay, just so I for one want to make sure, first of all, the committee's okay with it, then I want to make sure the commissioners are okay with it and the council, so that we're not trying to bypass anybody through the process, so that everyone's well aware of the actions that we're proposing.
I don't know how we're not aware of it, how everybody's aware.
But that's just what I make sure that it's recorded within the minutes and that happens, so that we follow that.
Right.
Because I just don't feel, all three of the groups should be on board with the decisions. It's,
If public perception matters at all, the commissioners should not be the only ones to have the say.
And this doesn't. This
I'm just saying, if public matters. okay,
Right.
And we all want to start working as a team eventually, which I haven't reached out to you two yet, but you're on my list. For the betterment of the community, everything has to work how it's supposed to work. And then people don't feel like things aren't being appropriated where they're supposed to, or misappropriated where, they're not supposed to. So if the ARP committee says, okay, here's what's gonna happen, here are the claims that are gonna say, okay, and then the council has to do it, and then you guys are the ultimate, then.
We can't take that step out. We can't take the step out of commissioners approving the claims. Period. I mean, we can't by law. But what I'm saying is the committee has asked for $1.2 million. They've agreed upon $1.2 million being set aside for grants.
Right.
And this has put it to be appropriated, so when the committee decides that they want to award a particular grant,
Then it goes to the council?
no, then it
County
goes.
They're supposed to
No.
approve it, and the money gets sent to that
Okay.
person.
Right, so if you waited to go to the council again, then we have to wait for their meeting with 10 days' notice, the appropriation, and then the claim is filed, and then we have to wait for the next commissioners' meeting.
Okay, so you're saying ARP committee, and then you just approve it as a claim?
As a claim.
and it's blanket with no restrictions.
What do you mean?
I mean, we can actually,
You would still have Baker Tilly.
hand a grant to, there's no restrictions on who the grant's gonna go to.
As long as Baker Tilly.
That's what, yeah, well.
Right, and that's a step that the
But I'm
committee
saying
wants to do.
that if somebody comes in, let's say, for instance, we've exhausted all the potential for-profit, non-profit, out of anything that they actually could do, and we still have money left over, we could, in essence, give it to someone for an infrastructure project.
We can
Even
move it.
though,
We'd have to move it.
even though that wasn't in our basket originally, and our intent, we just don't have enough projects
No, we'd
that
have to move it.
would actually be in compliance.
Right, we can move,
That
Reduction.
we can move some of that 1.2 million into another bucket.
What's the moving process?
That's when I would, I'm sorry, but instead of doing an additional, that's when you do a reduction in appropriation, where I would reduce the amount that's left or what you're wanting to move, and then it has to be reappropriated into the correct bucket.
Okay,
And that's
so
what we
This
all
only
want
works
to do.
within that bucket you've already defined.
Right, and the
Yes.
questions you get into,
Right.
see, it's just like if you start handing money out and then have to redo it, would it not be better off for us to get where we are right now, get Baker Tilly actually to say that first 11 group is good or isn't, or whatever they are, we can move the $250,000 through, then we can determine, we have to meet as a committee and determine what our next steps are. And I think we really need to refine who would be eligible in compliance with the law, and I think that's gonna answer some questions for us, and maybe the dollar amounts too.
Well, it may
That
change.
your Tilly involved with it, and they're gonna share some guidance, and then we'll know whether we're, the dollars we're looking at.
But all this is going to delay it another month and 2 months, is what I'm saying is, if we go ahead and ask for the appropriation, we can move, and the committee can get recommendations from Baker Tilly, like they talked about, but this just allows the committee to do what they need to do, is to award the grants to who they see as fit. And the criteria of using who to see fit, whether it's a vote and Baker Tilly approval, I mean, that's all part of what the committee wants to do.
And that also includes those 11 that you guys done approved.
Right.
If that gets appropriated, as soon as you get here word from the attorney, he can just.
I think it's only those 11, right? So if you, like you said, if
No.
Right now, we have 11.
you have 11, but if
Okay.
Baker Tilly says you can't do 2 of them for whatever reason.
Then the money
After
remains
they
in the
review
bucket.
them, they come in and say, you're actually spending funds outside of the requirements of
Right.
the ARP grant. So now all of a sudden, we have to revisit that. And there's one in particular that I think we can possibly grant some of it, but it's gonna have to be adjusted now. So we're gonna have to go through those things and make sure they're in compliance, because,
Right.
and that's where Baker Tilly's gonna step in and make sure the
So-
county's.
And I'm not
gonna treat it like
disputing that
Yeah.
one iota. I'm not disputing that at all.
So what happens is, from a legal perspective, whichever one of those 11 you all decide based on your conversations with Baker Tilly, you as a committee decide is okay, that just gets brought as a claim to the commissioners and it's done.
It's done.
Whatever's not done like that, so if Baker Tilly says, no, we can't give all or part of to those 11, that money gets put back into the fund and has to go through the whole process again.
But then it's back into a fund allocated for-profits, nonprofits, and mental health in those 3 buckets, see?
That's right.
And then at that point, if we've exhausted all the opportunities,
You have to reappropriate.
then we have to come back and take that money and say, now we're gonna take that back out and use it in a category, whether it's governmental,
Right.
whether it's infrastructure, whatever the committee decides, and the next step is whoever they pursue. So it's kind of a work in progress we have to get through, and if we want to speed the process up, there's no restrictions with us having a special meeting for the simple appropriation of X number of dollars out of the ARP.
Except for the fact that you have to call for a special meeting with 10 days' notice. What I'm saying is this will speed up the process that we wanted to do to begin with. That when the committee is 100% comfortable with awarding any of the grant up to the $1.2 million that the committee decided to put aside for these grants, then it's just a simple process to go ahead and award that. Now, if the committee decides that at this date, we're not doing any more grants and there's money left, then you can go to the council and have it moved over to whatever you want to appropriate it
So
to.
you said there's 10 days?
10 days?
For an additional
No, it's
appropriation.
It's 10 days.
It's 10 days.
It has to be advertised 10 days before they meet.
Okay, if Randy's concerned a little bit about, he's wanting to save some money, if there's some money left, do you have to go all the 1.3? Can you say $1 million?
Whatever we want to do, but what I'm saying is,
Yeah, I agree with you, because see, what I'm thinking we're gonna end up doing is we keep bouncing the money back and forth. Now, maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised, because there's some organizations that I really would like to give it to, that I'm afraid we're not gonna be able to, but we have to explore that to make sure we're okay, and I don't want to get any false hopes up here without having Baker Tilly come through and say, yes, you can, or no, you can't.
right, but we want to be ready to move.
Yeah, if we want to go, I don't know, right now we've got 260,000 in that range or something like that appropriated. If we wanted to double that, I mean, 500,000 or something like that.
Whatever amount,
And
that you
then,
want to use, but I just want to, my opinion is that we should have enough there, if the council agrees, that we should have enough there
Because in
to do what the
reality, Tom,
committee needs to do.
if we go back through this process, and that's thinking out loud, it should be the committee involved in this, but if we go back through some type of an application process or something like this here, that will take a little time, and then if we see that we are gonna have groups that are.
I'm just trying to speed the process up.
We could actually add another 500,000.
We can, but
another.
But can, if you want to do 500,000 and then we spend it and then add some more, yeah, that's fine too. I just explained the process is that the council has to approve the additional appropriation with 10 days public notice before the meeting. And by the time we get a committee meeting together and get that agreement, that the committee agrees to grant this because they're comfortable with whatever steps, that Baker Tilly and all that lines up, then it's a simple matter of just the committee submitting a claim, and then that grant can be paid out. That's the reason for appropriating. But if we don't use all the money on what we already, the committee's already agreed to use it on, and we don't come up with any viable, then it can be moved again as easily as it is. That process is as easy as adding to it. So that's my point.
So
We can
Chris,
either-
is there a problem with changing that to 500,000 from 1.2?
No, because right now.
It's already in the plan, approved.
Yeah,
Up
the
to-
11
yeah.
that, right now, that you guys have, this is including the 3 that are the mental health ones, would range around 262,500.
Now we're going to
Mhm.
because there's some organizations that could use the money, but I just don't.
Right, and
I think we need to try it. I mean, they'll try, but I think we need to try. I'm okay with $1 million, and that's gonna give us a long process where the committee can do their job and we can just get it out there.
exactly, the committee can do its job.
Change it.
And then
Now, if-
300,000 back, and we need that, if we need that at that time, we'll appropriate it. If not, it goes back for like infrastructure or
Yeah, they'll have to
project
come
out
back
here
for
on
the other
237 or
200,000.
whatever. So,
They'll have to reappropriate the other 200.
I think we have to have it actually committed 2024, and I think it has to be spent 26 or 7, and
26.
they're talking about adjusting that
Okay with
number
me.
to,
I am.
the way
yeah.
things go, who knows? But that's current. So we've got time.
We have time, but these people need this money, and it was given to the county just to, and I don't want to see it just sitting in a bank account. I want to see it dispersed out for these needs, and when we get into infrastructure, there's some real needs there. But I mean, that's my point, that every month that we delay this, it's another month that these organizations don't have the funding that they need, and what the ARP money was one of what was meant for, and this ARP committee agreed that it needs to be for these purposes. So anything we can do to get this money out of the bank account and into the hands of the people that really need it, I think that we should move forward.
with that, I'll make a motion to transfer $1 million.
Oh, I'm sorry, Stan?
What part is the county council playing this now? I mean, when you dole out the money, just the commissioners okay it, and then does it go to the county council to approve?
The county council can approve additional, just like the money that was spent already.
Yeah.
Correct.
The commissioners asked for an additional for the amount to spend on,
Correct.
what was 6,000 and some to the community foundation, and they appropriated it. There was 37,000 for the consultation with Baker Tilly, not to exceed amount. And they put that in a bucket, and as we need it, it could be spent out of that 37,000.
Claims.
The committee, the ARP committee, has decided that they would like to see $1.2 million given out in grants in a combination of small business, non-for-profits, and mental health. So, and all that adds up to 1.2 million of the first disbursement. So the first step is the council to approve that additional appropriation. Now, that has nothing, that is not near the amount that we have.
That's just like spending money within your budget.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what
Once the
it is.
appropriation's made, that's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
If you want additional, then it's got to go.
Back through it again.
Back to it again. And then if you don't spend it all, then it can be gone through and reduced and added to, so say we spend, out of the million, we spend 700,000. Okay, and there's $300,000 left. The commissioners then is the appropriate place to go back to the council and say, okay, I want to reduce that by 300,000 and increase
Whatever.
whatever, infrastructure.
Yeah, whatever.
You know, just an example. Right, but all that could be done at a time. But my opinion is to go to the council, which I think they've approved the plan to spend $1.2 million, but they just haven't given an appropriation. So if they feel comfortable that the ARP money should be spent, if they agree with the committee, that $1.2 million should be spent on grant, then they can approve this additional appropriation, and it's sitting there waiting for the committee to get comfortable and award it, through the process of Baker Tilly, checking with Baker Tilly and whoever else, that
This is like
makes
spider
them
web
comfortable.
out. I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Everything you're saying, does this just mean you cut out the county council for it to go through them? So it's ARP to, I don't know.
No, we're not cutting out the council. We're just we're just asking their step now. They have to do this. The council has to appropriate it. We're asking them to go ahead and appropriate it. So, say we do it a different way. Say we decide that, okay, we're not gonna ask the council, we'll ask the council for $5,000 for the one grant. Same process. The commissioners ask for an additional appropriation for $5,000. The council, if they approve it, and that additional appropriation takes at least 10 days' notice to do, then it goes to the committee, and the committee submits a claim to the commissioners, and then the commissioners have to approve that claim. Same process. I'm just proposing that we group what the committee wanted to do, the $1.2 million for grants, is do that step now all at one time, rather than, and leave the awarding of the grants to the committee. And I believe that most of the council's on board with that. I mean, they had been in the past. We're not cutting, and I want to make that clear.
Right.
We're not cutting anyone out. We're just.
Super important for people to, so it's just a time thing,
Yes.
right? That's it.
Yes.
It's just for time saving so people can get their money.
Yes.
And you gotta realize, once it comes out of the committee, the commissioners have to approve it. There's 2 commissioners gonna be on that committee. So the votes is gonna be there when it comes out of that committee.
Maybe.
Well, maybe. I'm just kind of a dead horse sitting here when that comes out.
Well, but if Tom and I didn't agree on it
That's
in
right.
that committee, then, I mean, you can come out here and it might be your call.
Yeah, and it could be.
So it's not a given.
Right. It could-
But, if it's helping the community, let's get it out there. I mean, I don't wanna say it's a rubber stamp, but get it out there.
I don't foresee that happening. I foresee that.
That's what you got a committee, you work together. When it comes out, even though you got different opinions out of a committee, when the committee's, that's what it is.
Yeah, but Megan, I want to make it very, very clear. My intention are not to cut anybody out. It is to do the processes that we need done to abide by the state law. I mean, it's different than city government. City government can approve it at their council meeting. At the county level, it has to be a 2-step process. The fiscal body has to approve it, and then the commissioners have to approve the claim that that's what it is. What we're actually approving it as a claim is that that's what it is. The claim comes in, the council has approved the money. Then somebody wants a check cut, and that's a claim. So what the commissioners do is they have to approve that that's actually a claim. Not much different than in that budget, you had $200,000 for building maintenance. And somebody submits a claim for $200 to clean the carpet. The commissioners, although the council already said that they could spend the money, the commissioners have to approve the claim that that's what that claim is to actually clean the carpet.
Okay, so, and you would have to do that anyway?
Yes. Mhm. But I'm wanting to do it all together as opposed to little pieces at a time and spread it out over months and months. Since the committee has already agreed to a grant program of $1.2 million. I mean.
See how this could work, since the commissioner's got 2 meetings a month. You can have 3 meetings in a month, the committee, and within a week or so, the money could be rolling.
Yes.
You come in, you had a committee last few days, give the notice, it's here, it's gone.
48 hours notice that it's on the.
And that'll be easier with Baker Tilly now.
Well, Baker Tilly is our conscience and also our protector.
Okay.
Because what we don't want to do is hand out money.
No.
Because the county is responsible if we make a mistake.
Yep.
And we don't want to pony up hundreds of thousands of dollars out of our budget, which we don't have, in the event we misappropriate the funds. That's our
Yeah, say we award a grant for $200,000 and the state comes back and says, you couldn't do that. Then we have to come up with it. The county does pay it back.
That's a problem.
And we have brought Baker Tilly on, yeah, good luck. We brought Baker Tilly on board to say, to make sure that it's correct, so we don't have to do that. So that's what their role in it. They have no power. This actually puts the power in the committee. If this appropriation goes through, then the commissioners don't submit claims. The committee does.
Right, and you approve them.
We approve them.
Approve them.
Right.
It's hard to understand whenever you're watching a meeting online and you see everybody going at it instead of what, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The public is like, what the, get your shit together, no offense. But
No, I know.
they're saying behind your back, so I'm gonna say to your face. It would work a lot better if it wasn't, you know, us against you and you against us. That's not gonna work.
Right.
It's just not. So, and I do need things explained because I'm not her. I think you would have a lot more support publicly if it wasn't like explained so far out. It's just like, okay, the commissioners have to do this anyway. Bam, that's it.
That was-
Just cutting 50 different strings and meetings and whatever.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
It's reducing the number of meetings. And you gotta understand too, I mean, one of the things I learned in the years sitting up here is that basically we work for the state. The state tells us how to do everything. And to figure out what we're supposed to do and can do sometimes becomes complicated. And also that city government is different than county government. And county government is totally different than state government. You know,
Checks and balances, what it is.
and it's checks and balances. It's not all bad, but to explain that check and balance, no one in the county can spend one single dime until the council approves it. Because they are the fiscal body, period.
Okay.
But once they put that money in a budget, then whoever asks for that money, whether it be Alan with the sheriff's office or the highway department or whatever, then the commissioners have to approve that, yeah, that's an actual claim.
Claim, just like those.
Just like Pam. Pam has to pay everybody that worked. And, but we have to approve that as a claim. So, I mean, I hope that helps understand some of it. And my point is that I'm like Randy, and I think both Randy, that I want to get this money appropriately where we decided we wanted to do it. And we've had multiple meetings with the ARP committee, and we come up with this plan. The ARP committee came up with this plan that $1.2 million is going to grants. So we're going to ask the council to make sure that's okay. Now, up to $1.2 million. Now, let me make that clear. Up to $1.2 million.
For the first round. Right. It's
Right.
And great.
Right. And there's still, how much was the second one?
1.8 something again, it was the other half that we received.
Yeah, 1.8. So that 1.8, we haven't even started, we've had some discussions, but we haven't made any decisions as an ARP committee where we want to do that. Now, ultimately, the council can say, you know what, I think I want to take all of that $3.7 million and put it in raises for the council. I'm being very facetious, don't mean, they do have the right to do that. They can do that. But we have to prove the claims when they pay them out. See what I'm saying?
Right.
You want to go with that?
Right. Check them
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, all right, well, a long explanation for a short question, but maybe it was necessary, but that, were we clear? I mean,
So the ARP committee should say yes to it, is what you're saying, Randy? The ARP committee should.
Well, that's
say
basically what we're gonna do is appropriate the money without having specific uses for it, is what it amounts to. And then we'll have to come back with our claims. What it's doing is taking that appropriation step and moving it on. The only thing is, we don't know exactly what that dollar amount is, so I'll guarantee you, we're gonna adjust it at some point, up or down or whatever, depending on how this all shakes out. Because it's 3 specific areas, so it'll change, but I don't know which way it'll change and how it'll change, but this is an appropriation.
Step one is an appropriation. They have to appropriate it. And if they want to reduce it, that is up to the council.
Not yet.
Okay.
I did have a motion for $1 million.
1 million?
Yes. And that leaves a little in there. And we can always come back and get it if we need it, which I hope we do,
Mhm.
and move on from there. And that shows the people of the county that we are putting this as on the fast track as fast as we can.
Yeah, these organizations need the money.
Yeah,
I'll second that.
Okay, motion made and second for a $1 million appropriation. ARP money to grant awards,
Okay.
and I vote aye too, so 3-0.
I know you guys got a lot of work ahead of you. Good luck, and
Now, hopefully that bringing Baker Tilly on board, that's gonna help with that too, because I think we got a really good idea on the 11 that are already approved. We just got some specific questions to ask Baker Tilly. I mean, and hopefully that will reduce the amount of consultation fees we have to pay Baker Tilly too. I mean, so. And that amount too, that 37,000, we don't have to spend that entire 37,000. If we get comfortable without spending that, any of that can be moved to these other buckets too. So. Good? All right. Next on the agenda is additional appropriation for unemployment compensation.
Yes, I can got that one too.
Yes, go ahead, Pam.
Okay. This is what we're asking.
And I think with that, I'd prefer to wait. And if you want to bring the list, then we'll know exactly what we're proving so it doesn't come back. Or you can email the list.
I can wait 2 weeks. I just want to make sure we don't have this problem in the future. That
The easy way to do that in the future is get us the whole list, what you're going to give away and what it amounts to, give us some time. And then if something comes up that I have a question, and I'm not shy, I'll ask Chris or one of these other fellows exactly what's going on, just as I asked Pam about some of the things she's paying today. But I'll do that as long as I have time in advance. But if you come in and spring it on me in a meeting, I'm going to ask it at the meeting, and I'm not going to be comfortable with spending money without having the opportunity to look at it.
I'm fine with that. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So, all right. I just want to make sure everybody understood why I was up here to explain why we're talking about it.
While you're there, I've got another question, and maybe one of you guys can answer this. The Perry Central parking the bus and the street back here, that kind of was a new thing happened to me at the last meeting. And now my understanding is the county doesn't have title to the road. The city denies that it's a city street. Where are we on that? I mean, what's the
It
status
was
on that?
brought to you guys, and you guys.
Approved a bus to park in your parking lot.
That's it.
Okay. So, but where's the status on that road back there? Does anybody have, because my understanding is after.
I thought the road, Randy, was owned by the county.
By the county?
Because Steve
By the city.
Howe left already, didn't he? Okay, I checked with Steve Howe. That road was never put on the county inventory.
Do we have title to it?
Yes, we built it.
No.
Well, right,
No.
and we have title to the property.
This
and-
is blocks back in this area.
Well, it wasn't vacated, Randy, is the
It was
answer.
never vacated.
But
so
I
it's
don't
still.
think, I don't know if they accepted it or if they have to accept it, that,
It's
But
still
I
in,
don't
it's
know.
still in it's still in the city limits. So rightfully so.
it's in the right of way. It is absolutely in
It's
the
city
right.
right away, so we don't have a deed to that property.
No.
And the city is here saying it's not ours.
I think it
So
probably is.
how does this all?
Well, it,
You know,
that's a
and-
great question, because the city has passed ordinances that they will only accept a road, even in their right of way, if it's constructed to their
Certain
standards.
Same as we do.
Yeah.
Yes.
I assume it, I don't know that it was ever presented to the city.
And it
To even
probably
ask
doesn't
for it.
have the curbs and that.
It
that the
definitely
city
does
would
not have
require,
the
and not the
curbs.
width. Okay, so the question then becomes, if the county is going to take responsibility, should we start the process of trying to actually get a title to the property?
Well, it's not a matter of title to it, it's a matter of whose inventory it's on and who the state reimburses for the maintenance of it.
Okay, my question is, if there's a traffic accident on that road?
They'll sue everybody.
That's his answer.
Who wrote the accident? But it's a fair point, Randy, because
I mean, I'm
the
just
city's
trying
going
to
to take
clean
a
up these
position,
details.
you're right, the city's going to take a position, that ain't our road.
Yeah, we didn't build it, we didn't
we
do it.
accept it.
And the county's gonna say, we have no title to the property that it's on.
Right.
We probably in the deed, we own the ground underneath the.
Great question.
No,
Didn't
No, we
Steve
don't.
say they were talking
we
about?
own, if I
We own the
understand this,
middle.
we own the block, okay? Then the city, back in 1857 or whatever, when they platted it all, put a street in there for
That's
their
right.
use. So there's no title to that street.
If that street were vacated, then whoever owns each side of it would own
Would
it,
be the,
but it has never been vacated.
yeah, so see, now you have this area
That's right.
that's kind of, they're not claiming it, we don't own it.
It's actually who's responsible for it is who is maintaining it. That's who's responsible for it.
Right, and then to your point,
And I don't
to
agree,
get
I didn't-
paid to maintain it,
We need to have it on our county, one of us has to have it on our county or city.
I do recall when we have a
Right.
snow out here, I think that the county has been out there to help us, because I know they help us.
because they drive through.
Yes.
I mean, they don't have to, but
No,
they do.
No.
But that doesn't
And
make
the other
it
question, I
the county.
mean, it was brought up to me, and that's why I took it to you all as commissioners. I'm just trying to help the school out, because I don't know where they're gonna go, and they just asked me, and I said, that's not my decision, that's commissioners.
Right, and we didn't give the school permission to do anything on that roadway.
And then the question then, see, is it's a two-lane road, if they start parking on it, how's traffic gonna flow through there? And it's not our road, and we didn't give them permission, Telsey doesn't claim it, I can just see,
Then it becomes.
call the sheriff.
It becomes,
I didn't work it out.
Then it becomes a police issue between the
Yeah.
sheriff's office and Telsey Police Department.
And I guess the city's not claiming, it. So I don't know what, I'm
Right.
just,
Even if the city had it on their inventory, that the state pays them to maintain it, which basically, then that part doesn't change either. I mean, it still falls under,
we need to decide between the city, the county, we kind of resolve that.
Who owns it?
Yeah,
Does
who,
this start all the way up at the stop sign?
if it's on blocks, yeah, that'll be like a,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, 30th
be-
Street or whatever
Whatever
that
heck
is.
it is.
I don't think that is. I know that out here is Herman.
right, Herman Street.
I don't know if this I don't know without looking if that falls within this
On a
right of
city
way or
street.
not. We'd have to look.
I don't know, but I know
don't
this is
know.
all
I haven't
in
looked.
blocks and this.
Yes.
Oh, it absolutely is.
Right.
So it has 70-foot and 80-foot streets platted with the
Right.
original.
And when I
plat,
talked to Steve
Unless they've
Howell-
been,
They have
When I
not.
talked to Steve Howell about it, he was under impression with NDOT that we don't have the right to claim that as a county road because it's within the city limits.
And build on city.
right away.
Yeah,
It's
so,
not our
so
problem.
Tell
It's not
City
county
has the
property.
right to, apply to NDOT to put it on their inventory so they get paid to maintain it through the motor vehicle highway thing.
If they would.
It would.
Yeah, but see, then they won't take it until you make it wider, put the curbs in and whatever else they require to be done.
But I think, I truly believe that we were just looking out for the best for the students on the bus. It wasn't taking a favor or anything like that.
Safety of the
I
kids.
just, I
Well,
just,
that's the next thing here, when you park one lane full, this is what concerns me, if it happens. And I know how over here before, they come an hour early, they'll park, and then everybody wants to be up at the front, and then the kids will be crossing back and forth, and you're gonna be directing some going one direction, some going the other way down a one-lane road, and I can just see some issues there, and who's gonna step up and address them?
but I've talked to Mike Bishop a lot and Terry Bishop a lot, and they have both agreed that if I saw an issue as it's going, that we would address it again.
The safety issue.
Yes, we would address it again.
But I think we still have the road out there. It needs to be, somebody
Right,
needs
and
to
I've talked to
claim
Chris
it.
Kale and Steve Howe, and Chris said that when things calm down, that he wants to have a meeting with Steve Howe and with contact NDOT to see who gonna get paid to maintain it.
Well, the pay and also then take the responsibility on however that's gonna
Right.
work, somebody
Right,
to do it. So,
okay. All right, anything else? Next meeting? That's you, Sam.
16th.
August 16th.
I'm gonna have to start remembering to do that, ain't I?
Well, you're Teresa now.
Your Teresa now, to find an altar.
Okay, August the 16th at 9 a.m.
Let me know what I can do.
Here.
at the courthouse, yes.
Watch your daughter get beat up. How's your mother on?
See, there was a saying that, if you don't like what the clowns say, quit going to the circus.
Well, you know when
I love circuses.
There you go.
I never
I need to talk to you guys at some point. Maybe pre-recorded interviews.
Pre-recorded interview?
Yeah, you don't want to go live. It's too much. And then people like to say things. Think
Chris
about it.
Papers will sign guys, don't.
Seriously. Not so much him because we're retiring, right?
I think this one we sign underneath mine.
Think about it, seriously. I approached Pam too. Alan said that he would do it. I'm not your
We
enemy.
still are signing those underneath there.
I'm not your enemy. You might think I'm your enemy. I'm not. Technically, I should be independent. I'm not a Republican.
I got signed that.
Nothing wrong with that.
No. But anyway, I'll see you soon.
You know what?
Hang in there.
It's about all your life, not far.
Okay, ladies.
So I called Heart to Heart, and today's the first day. So that's the route we're going, but she's so thankful she's got that all done, and thank you and Jeff for, because we were coming today, and, she was so scared, and Kayla said, okay, we'll
I
get you
think
down.
that's everybody is like, 3.7 million is all they're sharing, you know what I mean? So,
I was like, oh my God. You can buy a title, that's why I want to get back.
I'll lock the doors for you.
God bless you.
Yeah, I was gonna ask who's taking over that yelling about the doors.
Oh, he took care of Teresa.
Somebody better take care of me.
Well, Teresa's watching, I bet she was.
I'll bet you will.
I bet she wasn't. She's probably just damn glad.